The conversation never ends.
Sam Chinedu here. The National Industrial Court in Abuja nullified a provision in the harmonized terms and conditions of service of the Nigerian Armed Forces, which mandated soldiers to serve a minimum of 15 years before being allowed to resign. So now, by this judgment, they are very free to do that before getting to 15 years. Mr. Ige, thank you for staying with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It was a pleasure. All right. So, with this in place, how could this ruling affect armed forces retention strategy? We know how the military, the army in particular, talk about the recruitment rates. In the southern part of Nigeria, it's not very high, but in the north, they get better numbers, and they keep trying to convince Nigerians to enroll in the army. Now, do you think that this might affect their retention?
Well, the flip side of this is that it now belongs on the Nigerian military to have very fantastic packages for their personnel. Remember that not too long ago, some policemen were protesting in Abuja.
Yeah.
That after working with the police for about 35 years, their total gratuity is just about 5 million, 7 million naira. Now, when those who aspire to join Nigeria police hear such amount of money, Chinedu, will you be interested to join Nigeria police when you hear this kind of tales?
Obviously not.
No, exactly. So how can you work for 35 years? Then what you get at the end of 35 years is 5 million naira. There is some cases cannot even last you for 3 or 4 or 5 months, or can buy anything tangible. So now, for the Nigerian armed forces, especially the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force, to retain people, then with the federal government of Nigeria, we now have to think of fantastic packages for this personnel. Something that you look at and say, well, is worth sacrificing my life for. I'm sure you are aware that there are a lot of people in the armed forces, including police, who died in active service. And as I talk to you today, their next of kin or their family members are still fighting to get the benefits that is not even enough. They are still fighting to get the benefits till today. So if you have young Nigerians, why would they be interested in joining an institution they think will not give them adequate reward or that can sustain their family when they die? How do you think it's possible? That is why the federal of Nigeria will sleep. Maybe we need to treat them better. Maybe we need to give them better packages. Maybe we need to give them better pension. Maybe we need to give them better gratuities or better things that can make it enticing for people to want to join. Because we are talking about intention. It's not just about keeping people. How do you ensure that you continue to sustain their enthusiasm? We are fighting all manner of things across Nigeria, from the north to the south, from the east to the west. Right? So we have a lot of our armed forces that were involved in several theaters. I'm sure you are aware that not too long ago, some of them have come out to complain about even the kind of ammunition, the kind of weapons they have, the kind of conditions they go through. I think it was, I can't remember, maybe about 10 years or thereabouts now. There were soldiers that went for peacekeeping mission outside Nigeria. When they got back, they protested in Akure in Ondo State that they couldn't get what they were entitled to while doing peacekeeping. They were court-martialed by the military. It took the intervention of Femi Falana, who headed to court to challenge their court-martial. Before the sentences they gave them were reversed or were reduced. So you can imagine a situation where somebody went on peacekeeping mission abroad. Now, to even get what they are entitled to while they are still alive became a problem. So how do you keep retention when people read this manner of thing? As the man actually who went to court, his father, after serving the army for many years, was shabbily treated. His father was a retired soldier. He was shabbily treated. So how do you want to encourage people from the south, particularly now, to join the army or the police when the remuneration is not even fantastic? When the gratuity, when the pension is not even worth the effort you are going to put in for 35 years? You look at it and see whether you can advise your son or daughter to join the Nigerian military. I'm sure you agree for them to join.
Well, because I'm on radio and I'm patriotic, of course, I would let them serve the country. Maybe after the radio show, you and I can have a different conversation.
Your truth on radio is different from your intention.
Yeah, something like that.
You are not there.
Something like that.
Look at what the policemen are subjected. I know a lot of Nigerians will say police is full of extortion and nonsense, but there are still decent people in the Nigerian police.
Very true.
Exactly. So what do they get after staying for 35 good years? What do they get at the end of the day? They risk their lives for 35 years. They ensured you slept with your two eyes closed while they were awake. Maybe we need to take a second look at the way Amana, we are remunerating those that are in the armed forces and in the police. Maybe just maybe that might give us the ability to have a sizable number of retention. And so you have the things of policemen and such people who retire for them to even pursue the pension, the small pension, for them to even pursue the small gratuity. Some of them, I remember, I think about 4 or 5 years ago, my secondary school, we had an event in Kosovo. So I went to a fast food joint to buy food. And that was another man who wanted to me and said that he traveled all the way from Palace to Lagos to pursue his pension. The man was crying. He was crying before me that you can imagine. And that he didn't have sufficient money to pay transport back to Kuala State. I had to buy food at this. I had to find money and even followed him to the park to ensure that at least he could find his way home. It was when he got to Kuala State. He called almost his family members. They were thanking me. So why do you make that inviting for people to join? So the retention is not about whether people are retiring voluntarily or not. The ones that are still there, how are we treating them?
Yeah, well, you've made all the points. It's difficult to add or subtract from what you've said. All right. It's important that you are a part of the conversation. There are lots of things packed into one, but the major focus is that the court has voided the armed forces mandatory 15-year service before anyone can seek resignation. My question for you is, does voiding this rule make the armed forces weaker or more humane? 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0003. WhatsApp is 080-903-06416. Please turn off your radio as you call. It's very important. Gospel calls from HA. Good evening, Gospel.
Good evening, Chinedu.
Good evening.
Yes, like the question you asked, the law, or as they said, it will not weaken it. Even if it weaken it, Nigeria deserves that. Look, let me tell you, the people who are supposed to be paid highest are the military because they have mortgaged their life for Nigerians. And that mention you don't know. Look, just class 5 person who just passed become a councillor, be going on with 1 million a month, another investment. But how much did they pay them for 1 month? Those who are taking their life for the people of Nigeria. If they wanted to retain it so that they will not be resigning after 15 years, they should make it lucrative and more interesting. Take care of their family, their life, not after death. I mean when they are working, their children, whatever they are, where their wives are, so that that work will be lucrative and interesting. People will join more. But this one, if they ask me, if I have a relation, child, children, I will not allow them to go to serve Nigeria because they're poor. The remuneration is too poor for them to engage. Most of them don't have house of their own. They cannot build because they transfer them from here to here. No money for them to build a house. We are serving the nation. What a mess. If guys not they may be resign after 5 years because the condition is so poor. Thank you. God bless everyone. God bless from
Okay, thank you very much. Well, it obviously leaves a sore taste in the mouth. 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0003. WhatsApp is 080-903-06416. Good evening, sir. My name is David, a member of the Nigerian Army, serving at... Okay. The course really made me happy. At least I will go back home to plant my cassava. We are just killing our time here. Oh, my. Well, that is a soldier, Mr. Ige, that sent that message on WhatsApp.
Of course.
And he has made his intention. Yeah, he has made his intention clear that he intends to leave the army. And I'm certain...
I'm not surprised. But, I did say that we have to look for special packages for them. Maybe, just maybe, if you are in the military or you are in the police, is there a way that we can give their children scholarship? So that we can see some of the things that trouble them. Can we find them scholarship? Maybe their children, maybe 4 or 5 children, as much as they have put on line to say, look, they are my children. Can we find a way to ensure that we give them scholarship? Maybe to secondary school. We have several federal government colleges across the length and breadth of Nigeria. We have federal universities, federal polytechnics, federal colleges of education. Can we just give them scholarship so that they don't have to think so much about how their children will pay school fees and all of that? Can we give them something that entices them? That is the last caller. Mention something about that some politicians end in 1 month. That some politicians end in 1 month. Some soldiers don't end it in 1 year. So can you imagine people fighting Boko Haram? What is the insurance policy? How much are they paid for it? You see, but you take that and compare, okay, so they're compared with some military personnel in other countries of the world. So you begin to have basic understanding. Is it that we can find something on housing for them, maybe clean mortgage? Now, federal government, okay, so look, if the cost of a house is 10 million, can the federal government of Nigeria pay 5 million? Why they pay the balance of 5 million? Yeah. Mortgage? We must look for something that entices them. Look, I doubt whether if you put the armed forces of Nigeria and police to it, I doubt whether we are about to 2 million in Nigeria.
Okay,
I doubt it will be about to 2 million personnel.
Let's take some more calls. Iberi calls from Ogbogoro. Oh, I've lost that call. Call back Iberi if you can. 08179230002. 08179230003. WhatsApp is 080-903-06416. Please turn off your radio as you call. Douglas calls from GRA. Good evening, Douglas.
Yes, Sam. I also appreciate Olalekan there stating the fact. My concern is particularly the way the politicians embezzle this our common patrimony. Yet, people like the servicemen are left to rot. Not only about how much they earn monthly, but their retirement benefits. You will hear that the governor is deserving of the choice house in Port Harcourt and in Abuja and Lagos, constant renewal of their vehicles and all whatnot. Can't we streamline these things and channel some of this money towards enhancing the life and betterment of the servicemen, both the police, the soldiers, the Air Force and all that, so that these people will serve voluntarily? You just read a message from an intending retiree too, because any moment he will resign.
He will resign, yeah.
Such thing is because it's not encouraged. If he is encouraged, he has that desire to serve the country, he will remain. If he is sure that his family will have benefits after him, he will remain. But because nothing is encouraging, the guy has already expressed his desire to even resign because the Supreme Court has given him that leeway. I mean, the politicians should think back and reason how to make these servicemen happy. It's important because this country is not held by the politicians, but it is servicemen.
Thank you, Douglas.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Godwin calls from HA. Good evening, Godwin.
Yeah.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, Godwin.
Okay. So, if it depends, can parents carry them?
What?
Or they will have to get jobs to take care of themselves?
Hello, Godwin, can you hear me?
Yes.
Do you know the conversation we're having?
Yes, the pension, can it carry them?
Okay, I think you're not in tune with where we are. All right, Mr. Ige. Now, there are lots of
Yes.
court rulings that, well, let's just say that the authorities ignore. And I'm concerned. Are you sure that with our history of, presidents ignoring court rulings and the authorities turning a blind eye, are we certain that they will follow through on this? And if they don't, where could that leave the members of the armed forces?
Chinedu, I think rather than envisaging whether they will comply or not, I think this is the time for the president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces and the top military personnel to quickly sit down and say, look, gentlemen, this judgment has happened. What do we need to urgently do to retain the people we have and be able to get more people to come on board? Because the flip side is that if about 10,000, 5,000, 20,000, what if 30,000 military personnel want to resign this weekend? What will the Nigerian military do? Push all of them? It will have a huge backfiring effect on Nigerian military. So things like that, you want to turn blind eye, to the ruling will have a devastating effect on the psyche of the Nigerian military. The best way to respond is to say this judgment has happened. How do we ensure that the rest that are there are not contemplating resigning between now and December? Is there we can urgently meet and review their remuneration? Are there ways we can make things better for these people? But that is the best way a responsible government will respond. It's not for you to say it will not happen. It will not resign. What if we have 40,000 people wanting to retire from the Nigerian military and the police between now and December? What will the military do? They will declare all of them at will after without official leave. So if you declare 40,000 on a will, do you know whether another set of 40,000 will get their will list?
That will be a national emergency.
And you know, one I don't want to contemplate. We are on the radio. What is the contemplate meeting? I'm sure you know what meeting means.
Yeah.
Nigerian folk or myself, we are not encouraging any meeting. We are not against any meeting. I only said that what if this is back of the backfiring effect? What if they have a meeting? So you see why I said that let us not contemplate the danger. Let us contemplate the positive. And now we can ensure that we keep those that are there, let more people to come on board. Can we urgently look at the way we remunerate these people, the way we make life better for them? I've just talked about scholarship. Can we have educational scholarship? Can we have health care for them? There are several federal healthcare institutions across the length and breadth of Nigeria. Can we give some concessions to their families? And then we can say that even though what we are paying them is not too much, but can we take some burden off them? Can we take education and healthcare off them?
Okay.
And there are people, and there are other professionals in Nigeria who make this kind of sacrifices people make. These people have signed that they are ready to die. I'm sure you are aware that when most of them die, their family is not even that they are cause.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know. They are buried in military cemeteries.
All right. Well,
some die in the war front and they are buried right there. What sacrifice can be greater than living down the life for the rest of Nigeria to sleep every day? Let's get things better for these people. It's not for us to contemplate whether what I've given judgment. No. Let us think of positive and think of how to begin to make life better.
Okay.
For these people.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Ige. This is as far as we can go with this conversation. We appreciate you for always making the time. Have a wonderful day, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, you too.
All right. Let's see very quickly. This message came in and I'll have to quickly take it. Asetico A says, the news about armed forces' ability to resign before 15 years is a beautiful one. If you can't make yourself a beautiful bride, don't force me to remain in marriage with you for that long. My greatest fear is let Nigeria know not to resort to forcing its male into the system I do not trust. And this one says, I have two brothers in the army and they are saying it's not palatable. They are not well paid, no house, no medical. The rank and file are the only personnel feeling the brunt of poor government services. Well, this is where we wrap it up. Thanks for listening.